Hello everyone and welcome to the official SWGT YouTube channel. My name is Rune. Today we're taking a look at SWGT Update 6.5.0, and so let's dive in. It has been a very busy month. The last update was in February 1st, but I've been making a lot of small changes in the background to the platform to make things a whole lot more efficient. So let's take a look at some of the bug fixes first, and then we'll dive into some of the new changes. The first issue is for new users. When you register, it was automatically defaulting to light mode instead of dark mode, so I have gone through and made that fix. The next update takes us over to the Rune or artifact graph, and there was an issue where SWGT wasn't breadcrumbing properly. So if I were to go back and say in history, the line wasn't changing because the system wasn't detecting a change. And so there was a change in some of the JSON packets, and I did make some changes last year that did make the upload of player JSONs more efficient. And in doing so, I actually broke a part of how the archiving works for runes and artifacts. So I have gone through and made that fix. There was another fix made this week. If we go over to the monster catalog and we take a look at, for instance, we go over to a unicorn. If we scroll on down, the artifact subproperties was not picking up the secondary set of skills. So it was only picking up on the first set of skills. And so for Helena here, accuracy on skill 2, obviously a very important thing. Same thing for on Diana. Diana skill 2 on her human form obviously needs accuracy. And on the production version, it wasn't showing up. So I have gone through and made that fix as well. If we scroll back up and we go to 3MDC and we go over to battle logs, if you're an SWGT Guild Plus subscriber or Personal Plus subscriber, you do have this function where you can search all of your battle logs that you have made throughout all your battles in your guild. And there was an issue where the saving options was not actually saving options. So I have gone through and made that fix. This bug was introduced in the big platform upgrade for version 6.0. So it's actually been there for a little bit. But anyways, that bug is fixed. Switching over to the guild side, if we go into Siege and we go to our battles, and I go to one of my recent battles, there was a wrapping issue on the map. So when we go to the map, on smaller screens, this bar would actually slide underneath here. So I have gone through and made that bug fix as well. And while we're on guild sites as well, if we go into a recruitment application, when you go and submit a recruitment application, the time zone was actually defaulted to UTC. And I have gone through and made a change on the recruitment application to set the time zone equal to none selected. So that way that forces the person who is submitting their recruitment application to pick the time zone that they actually live in. Switching us back to the SWGT personal side, if we go up to the menu and we go to the monster catalog, I have gone through and changed the sort to be descending. As far as natural stars. So this will match the way it is in game. If you were to sort if you open up your monster catalog view and you sort by the highest awakening level first, this sort level now sorts it a whole lot better. Before, the Angelmon were showing up at the top, and that's not really how everybody looks at their all their monsters. They always look at of course, your Nat 5s and the newer monsters first, and then all the way back to the older monsters. So that change was made platform-wide as well. One last change before we start talking about some of the new features. If we go to Artifact Monster Finder, there was an issue with accuracy on passives and on skills 3 specifically. I have gone through and made those fixes. So for instance, if you were going to search for a monster that had accuracy on skill 3, a support monster, it wasn't picking up things like Carcano, where it wouldn't actually give him any sort of a benefit from skill 3 accuracy, and obviously it does. So obviously for Carcano, he is going to show up in the list. His accuracy, as far as the need for accuracy as compared to other units in Artifact Monster Finder, is not as great, which is why his matching rate is so low. If we were to take a look at, let's say, Rika here, she's hitting all monsters 3 times. So if we look into our settings up here, we have it set for a number of monsters of 3, and we have no buffs on here. So when we go into Rika, this is actually 9 hits. 9 hits with accuracy, and she has 2 debuffs. So as far as needing accuracy, that's why she's rated so high on the list. And so that's how Artifact Monster Finder works. With the algorithm, we're trying to understand, where is accuracy best used for this artifact based on all of the actual monster pool. And so, Carcano does have it on his passive, and yes, it does make sense for Carcano to have accuracy on his skill 3, but, it's just when his turn takes, it's going to apply a defense break on one enemy. So, you compare that with if we take a look at, for instance, Rika, where she has 9 hits that she's doing and two actual debuffs, that is 18 times accuracy requirements versus 1 in this case. And so that's why Rika is higher up, and that's why Carcano is down below. But on the existing production version, Carcano wouldn't even show up there at all. So I have gone through and made that fix. And now on to some of the more fun, exciting things. If we go up to the top, and if we go to Siege, and there's a new menu option under SWGT Personal called Season Performance. And so when I want Season Performance, it takes a little bit, and I have mocked up a couple of examples here that we'll go through and talk through. So this is my Siege performance over the past 7 seasons, but I have gone through and deleted some of my performance, so that way it makes my data look a little bit weirder. So for instance, I have my data forever, but I wanted to show, so if you subscribe to SWGT and Season 10, it'll show you your performance for Season 10 and everything else from there forward. If you didn't participate in Siege for any sort of time period, or if you change guilds, for instance, your performance obviously will be different in one guild versus, of course, the other. And so this recommendation came from Lucky to have a nice, simple way, a nice, clean way to show your season performance in Siege, and I thought it was a very good idea. And so I have gone through and implemented it for SWGT Personal, as well as on the bottom here, you do have some graphs so you can show your performance over time. These graphs are actually all inclusive, so even though you have 2 entries here, it'll only be 1 entry down here, so it'll be a combined performance. So for instance, I had a 79.4% performance on Season 15, even though I was in 2 different guilds. And then same thing for your overall defense. And of course, you have an actual trend line too that shows you whether you are trending up or trending down. The next update line takes us over to 3MDC and search. And this is a platform-wide change that I have made for every dropdown anywhere where you select a monster. So whether it be Team Builder, whether it be Siege Map Planners, whether it be Guild Monster Search, anywhere where you pick your monsters, when you click on the dropdown or you choose the icon, it'll now launch a full view of all the monster catalog. And so this change request came from our friends over in China. Unfortunately, we only have English data for Summoner's War as far as monster names. The data comes from Swar Farm, and only English is currently available. They have no plans to add other languages, and so that becomes a challenge. Obviously SWGT is serving multiple countries on all servers. There are multiple languages that SWGT, of course, supports, but the monster data itself, because English is only available, I can't give what I don't have, and so. But that makes it a challenge because, we call it Kabezanu or Tetra or Galleon, and they call it by words I can't even pronounce. And so this just allows people to, if they want to just search for, if they know it's going to be a Nat 3 and it's going to be a water unit, if they didn't know it was called Vigor, they can just add some toggles and click on the monster. And now that monster is selected. So whether you choose on the actual dropdown or whether you choose on the icon, it will now bring up a new modal that allow you to search by not only name but by elements and stars, and you can just click the icon in order to continue, which makes it really nice. So definitely a very nice quality of life update there. Again, big thanks to our friends over in China for making the recommendation. And last but certainly not least, the next update line takes us over to account summary. So if we go to account summary, and we click on our gear icon, whether you do it from my profile or whether you do it from your guild menu on guild sites, when you go through and edit your account summary, I have gone through and done a lot of enhancements. And so the first enhancement is I've added a new option that allows you to do line wrapping after each rune combination. If I only show my top 2 Swift runes, it'll show the runes, my first combination, my second combination, and then it'll start going on to the next set. With this new option here, it'll put your first 2 Swift runes here, and then it'll actually line wrap, and then it'll put your next 2 combinations here, and then it'll sort of line wrap. And so it definitely looks very different if you go through and toggle that off. If we go to the account summary now, you can see where I have my top 7, and then my top 7 again, and then my top 5, and then I have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So it's definitely a very different view, but definitely has merit for those that want to configure their account summary like that. If we go on back down to that setting, I'm going to toggle that back off. The next change I've made on the rune settings here is these are now drag and droppable. So if you go through and configure something nice that you want to have down here, or let's say you wanted to make a brand new rune set. Let's say I wanted to do 3x fight, for example. So we'll do 6 runes and no other sets there, and we have 1 rune to show. And I want to go through and drag that up to the top. It just makes it a lot easier than having to go through and reconfiguring everything. So that's another big quality of life update there. Another big change that I've made is as we scroll on down to the baseline rune and premium rune area, I have gone through and reformatted the entire table. I've also added a new fill function. So for instance, if you wanted to set all of your rune sets to, let's say, 110% for your baseline, well, now instead of having to go through each individual dropdown and picking it, you can just do one click, fill it, and it does it all the way down. And so you'll see this very common here that people will do this kind of a workflow. Just a reminder that slot 1 and 3 are less efficient by nature because of the substats that you can't have on them. But just a nice feature so you don't have to go through and maintain these manually. It is a little bit tedious, but somebody had recommended to go through and add in a fill option very similar to speed to calculator. So I have gone through and made that change as well. And last but certainly not least, if we scroll on down to the rune speed by slot section, I have blown up this entire section so that way it is more configurable. By default, the 4 sets that are there are Despair, Swift, Violent, and Will. I have gone through and made it fully configurable now. So if you want to add in Fight, if you want to add in your Rage runes, if you want to add in Seal runes, you can go through and add those sets and then configure the overall minimum speed and the quantity that you are looking for on your account. So another big update. It definitely helps people to tweak their accounts and show more and configure more as far as what they are searching for, farming for, and how they want to actually score themselves. And last but certainly not least, the defaults on some of the artifact accuracy on attack artifacts and on HP artifacts. I did go through and make a slight tweak as far as accuracy. For instance, you have a Tessarion that can have accuracy on skill 2, accuracy on skill 3. So, technically it's not the best for them as far as having an HP artifact. Most people are building their Tessarions with, high attack, high crit, and high crit damage. But some build them more as an HP tank, and so you need accuracy on those. And so just added just a very slight tweak to the overall defaults, so your scores might change ever so slightly on your artifact scores. And that's it for today. I just wanted to say thank you to all the Patreon members who subscribe to SWGT and to all the people that constantly give feedback about the platform. It's only through your support and efforts that SWGT is what it is today. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. We all make SWGT better together. And with that, don't forget to smash those like buttons, and I'll see all of you on the battlefield.